I did my first commercial, and I can remember this like it was yesterday. My name is Calvin Smyre, and my record speaks for me. That's what I thought. And then they went a little bit further, and they bought T-shirts and put a record on it. A 45, not an album, but you remember those 45? And it says, "My name is Calvin Smyre, and my record speaks for me." And I said, "Oh Lord, help us." But it worked, so I got elected. But that's the only. And I remember I didn't meet Jimmy Carter until I campaigned with him for him, but I had not met. He was an outgoing governor when I was the incoming with George Busby as governor, and I remember that was one of the first slogans I had ever seen as a person elected, and it was "A leader for a change." That was his slogan. So you can see things have just evolved so much. Politics, when you look back at 75. A leader for a change. You gotta elect him president. And my record speaks for me. Got me elected to the House of Representatives.
So between campaign commercials and trial lawyer ads, which by the way, when I first was admitted to the bar, we were not allowed to advertise. There were restrictions as to how big your sign could be on the outside of your door. And heaven help us now. The billboard industry would go out of business without lawyers advertising on it. But the whole process has changed. And the question is, how do you communicate with people? How do you reach people? And that is not an easy question to answer. And I think people are continuing to search for the best way to do that. If people only get their information over the television or social media or whatever, that by necessity says you have to go that route in order to reach your potential voters. And it has made the whole process of campaigning, I think, much more difficult. Difficult in that it requires you to spend more of your time raising money to pay for those venues such as television and social media, and less time preparing and talking to people in person if you have the opportunity to do that. But on the other side of that coin is people don't want to come to events anymore. They're tired of that kind of thing. They've got other things they would rather do. So that's one of the reasons I compliment all of you for coming tonight, is that you have a lot of other things you could do, but you're interested enough in your government and your history to be willing to come, and I thank you for that. But you are the exception. You are the exception. Think of all the people who will not come to see this exhibit here, but who are going to be voting. Do they know what they're voting for? Do they know who they're voting for? Do they know what it means? I'll conclude with this, Calvin. You said you were voting on you were being introduced based on your record. That's the one thing that I see happening nowadays, is that we have candidates who have no records. They have none. When you and I were, and Cathy, when we were campaigning, we did run on our records. Nowadays, it seems like the other side of that record is playing, and that says, we don't want anybody who has any experience. We want new ideas, new people. Let me tell you what the real fallacy of that's never said and never talked about. And I saw it mostly in Congress. If you have a congressperson who has no background or experience, either in government or business or anything where they've been responsible, when they come to Congress, who do they have to rely on? They have to rely on staffers, on those who are lobbyists to provide them with information, and you don't have a good result as a result of that. And they don't know anything beyond what the talking points are. And that to me, is the real tragedy. We need more people to have a record.